Chapter 91, Between Kindness and Pretense, 1. The Ma Ryongin arrived at the Western Spear Manor, 1. The Western Spear Manor was one of the two representative sects in Henan. The other sect was the Eastern Sword Clan, 2. The Western Spear Manor and the Eastern Sword Clan had long competed to establish themselves as the representative sects of Henan province. Just as Ma Zhongsu had come down to Shandong to establish connections with the young minor faction, it seemed the Ma Ryongin was already in close contact with the Western Spear Manor. As evidence, the atmosphere was very good. A boisterous drinking party was held and continued for more than an hour. I didn't attempt to eavesdrop on their conversation. I could have listened if I really wanted to, but it didn't seem worth breaking through the 8 guards to hear. Especially, I was concerned about that man who had prevented entry into the room emitting a strange energy earlier. He might be hiding near the Ma Ryongin. He clearly seemed stronger than number 7. Both in martial arts and in temperament. An hour later, the Ma Ryongin left the Western Spear Manor. The carriage didn't return to the estate but headed to another place. This time too, I followed the carriage from a distance. Since I didn't approach closely while taking risks, they couldn't notice my tailing. After half an hour of riding, surprisingly, we arrived at the Eastern Sword Clan, which was in competition with the Western Spear Manor. This guy. He's stirring up both sides. Indeed, there too, a rowdy drinking party continued for an hour. I couldn't tell how he was manipulating both sides, but he was clearly exercising some unique skill of his. Thinking about how he had treated me, I thought he might be using both sides while openly saying he was meeting the other. Using 9 truths and 1 crucial lie. He was a person with skills incomparable to Ma Zhongsu, who had come down to Shandong. I remembered how Ma Zhongsu had evaluated him before. The cunning Ma Ryongin, he had said. Cunning? How could such an expression evaluate that snake-like person? Ma Zhongsu had misjudged him badly. The carriage that left the Eastern Sword Clan now headed to the Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy. It seemed he was going to meet Zhu Dukai. He stayed there for about a quarter of an hour. The carriage came out again, with Zhu Dukai seeing him off. He really is a busy fellow. Even though dawn had broken, the carriage didn't return to the estate. I was surprised to see where the carriage was heading. It was towards the inn where I was staying. I used my lightness skill to return to the inn 1 step ahead of them. I flew up to the 2nd floor and entered my room through the window. A moment later, someone knocked on my door. When I opened the door, the Ma Ryongin was standing in front of it. Did I wake you? No, I haven't slept yet. I didn't bother pretending to have been woken up. He was too sharp and might see through it, and even if not, it might be natural not to have slept on a day like this. I've never had this before, but I couldn't sleep last night. By the way, you've had a drink. If I had known, I would have come to see you earlier. It's too late to say that now. Ha ha. That's just like you. He seemed to like my prickly attitude and laughed pleasantly. Are you going to keep me standing here? Come in. He entered the room. He looked around the room. Since nothing was unpacked, there was nothing to find even if he looked. If you couldn't sleep, why didn't you have a drink? I don't drink alone. I see. The name Ma Ryongin, I remembered it yesterday. One of the promising successors among the Martial Righteous Alliance leader's sons was named Ma Ryongin. Is that you? That's right. It's me. And it's become 5 successors, not 6. You're from an orthodox sect, but... Why am I holed up in that underground place doing suspicious things, you mean? That's right. I nodded readily. Didn't you say it? That heroes and villains are just a paper-thin difference. It was what I had said to Zhu Dukai in the carriage. I did. It's the same, isn't it? Orthodox sects and... What on earth? What's your point of comparison? But he didn't say anything more. I think I get it roughly. Damn it. I feel like drinking from the morning. Then the Ma Ryongin took something out from his chest and put it on the table. It was a 1,000-tael note. If you can't sleep tonight either, go to a brothel and have a drink. The scent of women will help you sleep well. An unexpected kindness. This monster's tail keeps wagging at me. I grinned and pocketed the note. Thank you. Are you really thankful? Honestly, I act tough, but I couldn't sleep all night. I killed several of your subordinates too. And that unrepentant, you told me not to mention it again, but anyway, I'm worried about that too.
So why are you being so nice to me?
Good. I'll tell you why I'm treating you specially. First, didn't you take 3 of those precious unrepentant demonic spiritual pills? Although cheaper than elixirs with the same effect, it takes considerable time and money to make one. Is that the only reason? Of course not. There's another reason why I feel goodwill towards you.
What is it?
Looking at you, I felt anew that there are such things as fated connections between people. Fated connections? What's with this sappy talk between men? The moment I saw you, I felt that our fates were deeply connected. Let's just say I like you. I thought that if it wasn't me, if it was an ordinary person in their 20s or 30s, they would melt at his words. Casually offering 1,000 taels and saying he likes you, how could one's heart not waver? Anyway, thank you. I patted my chest and grinned. I'll use this money well. That day, I didn't watch the Ma Ryong in. In the evening, I really went to a brothel. I called for the prettiest courtesan and ordered the most expensive wine and dishes. I drank with her and laughed raucously. I didn't bother being wary of watchers at all. Somehow, I had a feeling he might be watching me today. Even if not, it didn't matter. It's just taking a day off. Although I played late into the night, I didn't sleep with the courtesan. I was just trying to show a boisterous appearance, not actually be boisterous. In my previous life, I had physical relationships with several women. So I don't have any aversion to sleeping with courtesans or anyone else. However, since I haven't broken off my engagement yet, I just don't want to sleep with another woman. You have a woman you liked, don't you? The courtesan asked me. I don't. No, you definitely do. I don't. Don't make baseless guesses. Women have an intuition that counters men's fickleness. Stop it. This brother wants to live freely. The courtesan chuckled. Why are you laughing? Just because. Men who have lived their whole lives wandering say that. That now they want to settle down with someone. That they're sick of freedom. Don't be fooled. It's just to seduce you. Those people, if they're tied down for even a day, they'll go crazy. Maybe so. She smiled. I lay on the courtesan's lap and looked at the moon visible through the window. Suddenly, Song Warren's face overlapped with the bright moon and appeared. I wonder how she's doing? She must be training hard. I remembered walking with her in the marketplace. That day was really nice. Then the courtesan, looking down at me, said, "The person you're thinking of now is the one you like." I looked up at the courtesan and said, "I was thinking of you." The courtesan giggled and looked at the moon outside the window. Even this woman who had been living through warlike days seemed to have a peaceful mind today. The moonlight is especially beautiful today. At the same time, Song Warren was also standing by the window, looking up at the moon. "What are you thinking about so deeply?" Suran asked. Song Warren answered. "Thinking of that person." "What?" Suran was surprised. "You don't mean Byok Ri Dan, do you?" "Why? Am I not allowed to think of him?" She asked so nonchalantly that Suran was flustered. "No." "But you've never?" "Right, I've never thought of him before. And I've never said such things to you." "Yes." Suran's bewilderment soon turned to worry. "Young miss, you don't have any worries, do you?" "No. I just honestly answered your question. I said I was thinking of him." Suran could tell that Song Warren's feelings for Byok Aridan had deepened much more than she had thought. "You're getting closer to him, aren't you?" It was meant to comfort Song Warren, but it had no effect at all. "No. He's getting farther and farther away from me." Suran made an expression of incomprehension. "The more I learn about his new aspects, the further he's getting away bit by bit." The emotion in Song Warren's eyes was clearly regret. Suran, who had been making an expression of half-understanding, said energetically, "To me, young miss is the best." A smile returned to Song Warren's face. She beckoned Suran to come closer. When Suran approached, she put her arm around Suran's shoulders and looked up at the moon again. This too was unprecedented behavior, so Suran was inwardly flustered. She's definitely changed. Song Warren's deepened eyes were filled with moonlight. The next day, a mission was given to me. It was an order to eliminate the lustful Buddha, 3. The lustful Buddha was originally a warrior monk from a famous temple in Henan province, but he had fallen into lust due to cultivation deviation, repeatedly raped donors, and fled. Many martial artists lost their lives in the process of tracking him down. Afterwards, he continued to roam around Henan province, raping several women. Then he seemed to have gone into hiding as there was no news of him, but today I received an order to kill him.
Is he an enemy of young Master Ma?
No. Then why? He's a lecher we couldn't catch for the past few years. But fortunately, we found his whereabouts this time. A trap? That was my first thought. Could they be hoping I'd die by the hands of the lustful Buddha through borrowing a knife to kill someone? But why? If they really wanted to kill me, there would be many easier ways. Moreover, Ju Du Kai added, capture him and hand him over to the Martial Righteous Alliance branch. Is there a bounty on him? That's right. How much is the bounty? You can keep it. I just blinked my eyes as if I couldn't understand. Ju Du Kai looked as if he had anticipated my reaction. I raised my voice angrily. What are you trying to do now? What do you mean? We're trying to catch a villain, aren't we? Damn! What kind of bullshit is this? Watch your mouth. Ju Du Kai, who had been answering calmly, glared at me with a face that said he wouldn't tolerate it anymore. I took a step back. Fine. Why do you want to kill him? As I said earlier, isn't he a villain? Aren't you just as much of a villain? Ju Du Kai snorted, curling up the corners of his mouth. Honestly, I don't understand young Master Ma either. Why he's showing such kindness to you? It seemed he too didn't know the intention of the Ma Ryongin who had given the order. Fine. I'll catch him for now. I need to vent my frustrations on him anyway. For now, I had to do as I was told. I didn't intend to let go of this tale yet. 2 days later, I entered the Zhengzhou branch of the Martial Righteous Alliance. The person being dragged by my hand was the lustful Buddha. All the bones in his body were shattered, and he couldn't move on his own. Especially his lower body was covered in dried blood. That was the first place that burst during our fight. I've caught a wanted criminal with a bounty. The martial artists guarding the entrance asked in surprise. Who is this person? The lustful Buddha. Everyone was shocked at the mention of the lustful Buddha. He was a figure that no martial artist of the Martial Righteous Alliance in Henan province could be unaware of. I've brought him alive, so you can quickly confirm if it's him. From then on, the Jingju branch was in an uproar. The branch leader, upon receiving the report, rushed out with his subordinates. After confirming that the captured person was indeed the lustful Buddha, the branch leader Peng Su asked me in great surprise. What is your name, sir? The martial brothers of the world have been calling me the Nameless One. Oh. So the Nameless Hero was you, great hero. The martial artists of the branch around us cheered and applauded. The Nameless Hero, who had beaten to death the Slaughterer, a symbol of authority, and boldly warned the Heavenly Blade sect, was popular among martial artists. Now that he had even captured the lustful Buddha, cheers naturally erupted. While the bounty was being prepared, martial artists from the branch flocked to see my face, having heard the news. It was just the other day that I was surrounded by enemies at the Ju family estate, and now I've become a hero surrounded by martial heroes. I became the hero of the Zhengzhou branch that day. The bounty was a whopping 7,000 taels. That's how many evil deeds he had committed. I eliminated a villain and pocketed a large sum of 7,000 taels. This wasn't a trap. What remained was the Ma Ryongin's intention. Why did he show such kindness for my sake? Chapter 92, Between Kindness and Pretense, 2. From the next day, rumors about the Nameless Hero spread through the martial world again. Just as the flames of the initial rumors were dying down, it was as if oil had been poured on them, causing them to blaze even higher. If the Slaughterer had been a symbol of power, the lustful Buddha was a villain who had harmed ordinary people. Moreover, he was a lecher who had raped weak women. While everyone praised the Nameless Hero, there was a doubt in the back of their minds that his heroic deeds might have had some political motive. But after eliminating the lustful Buddha, people completely discarded such doubts. They rejoiced and were thrilled at the birth of a new hero. Even in the inn where I was having dinner now, everyone was talking about me. About the other me, the Nameless Hero. If I could just see the hero's face once, I would have no regrets. Since Alliance leader Chion passed away, there hasn't been anyone worthy of being called a hero in the martial world, but finally one has appeared. Indeed, heroes are born in turbulent times, but it's been too peaceful lately. Since the hero's deeds were performed here in Henan province, he might still be somewhere around here. As he said this, one man looked around. His gaze turned towards me. The man who accidentally made eye contact with me immediately turned his head back to his companions. He probably thought it couldn't be this easy to meet the nameless hero, but the person he so wanted to see was me. I was surprised anew at how quickly the rumors spread. Usually, creating a single rumor is not as easy as one might think. It requires a lot of manpower and time. But the flames of this self-propagating rumor were burning through the martial world in an instant. When I was the alliance leader, I only saw the martial world through Gal Sarayang's reports. Now, seeing and feeling the martial world directly was different from what I had imagined. It's much more vibrant. One more thing I felt was that the martial world people were desperately thirsty for the birth of a hero. I was grateful that they remembered me as the last hero, and it was bitter to hear that no hero had been born due to the peace I had brought. Someone sat down in front of me without asking permission. How does it feel to become a hero? Surprisingly, it was the Ma Ryong-in. He had entered the inn alone, leaving his guards outside. It feels surreal. What's the big deal about killing one measly guy? Do they know I even carefully collected the bounty from the Martial Righteous Alliance? Even if they knew, it wouldn't change anything. They'll think you'll use it for a good cause. That's ridiculous. Heroes must meet the right timing. Even if you killed the same guy, if you had done it at a different time, no one would have recognized it. I suppose so. Anyway, we should have a celebratory drink. Since you don't drink alone, I'll be your company. He called the waiter and ordered alcohol. Thanks to you, I've become a hero and made money, but why have you shown me such kindness? It's a gift. A gift? A gift to commemorate making a new friend. But why do you look like that? Can I speak honestly? Go ahead. All of this feels like a trap for me. It's strange that someone as great as you would show such kindness to me. You lack faith in people. In all my life, no one who told me to trust them was truly trustworthy. Trust me one last time. He held out his cup, but I didn't toast with him and drank alone. The Ma Ryong-in, who had left the inn, got into the carriage that was waiting. The person waiting inside was Ju Dukai. As soon as he got in the carriage, the Ma Ryong-in said, "Make one more big move for that guy. Do you have any suitable cases? There are some, but use the biggest one. If possible, give him plenty of money too." Yes. Although he answered readily, Ju Dukai couldn't suppress his rising suspicion. "I'm sorry, but I must ask this. What exactly is your reason for doing all this for that guy? Are you that curious?" "Yes, I'm so curious I can't sleep." "You'll find out soon enough, so just get some good sleep. Now, let's depart." I was standing at the window of my second-floor room in the inn, looking down at the carriage. As the carriage started moving, the Ma Ryong-in stuck his head out of the window. He waved at me in the window with a friendly smile. I lightly bowed my head and then ostentatiously closed the curtain. If Ju Dukai had seen it, he would have been angry, thinking, "That insolent bastard." Yet there was a reason for acting this way. The more distance I kept, the less suspicion there would be about me. Early the next day, Ju Dukai came to see me. I was in the middle of eating breakfast on the first floor of the inn. "If you haven't eaten, join me." "I'll pass. They say eating a hearty breakfast helps you live longer. Do you want to live long?" "Of course. Otherwise, why would I be tied to you people? Another mission has come down." "What?" My chopsticks, which had been busy moving between dishes, stopped for the first time. "I haven't even spent the bounty from catching that lecher yet." "You can spend it all later. The reward this time is hefty too." I glared at him. Ju Dukai's attitude was as if to say, "So what are you going to do about it?" "Fine, I understand making the hated guy work, but why are you making me earn money? It's not like you've taken in an orphan to beg. Are you planning to kill me suddenly and take it all? Do you think we'd do this for that petty money? Then why are you doing this?" Of course, it was clear that Ju Dukai didn't know about it either. He must be frustrated that he can't tell me. "Here, take this." On the paper he handed over, the name and location of a villain, and the evil deeds he had committed were written. With this, I could clearly understand the nature of their organization. Selfish bastards. They have information about these villains' activities but don't catch them. It means they only move when it benefits their organization. You guys are the real villains, even more than those written here. The one I caught this time was a former assassin named Jong Baek E1, who had settled in Henan and was doing assassination work. While assassins are said to be abundant in the martial world, this guy's problem was that he was cruel enough to kill not only untrained people but even children if paid enough. Only when the fight was over and he was about to die did he realize something about me. Who exactly are you? Jong Baek asked with difficulty, exhaling his last bit of vitality. They commonly call me the nameless hero in the martial world. How did you find my hiding place? When I arrived at his dwelling, he had sensed my approach and was hiding behind a secret wall prepared inside the house. How did I know he was behind the wall? During my time as the Alliance leader, assassins were the enemies I encountered most frequently. Especially when we were at war with the Sima heretical path, there was a time when assassins came every other day. Sometimes assassins came morning and evening on the same day. I'm truly someone who could write a report on assassins if asked. Were you an assassin? Those were the last words he left before dying. He probably sensed it throughout our fight with an assassin's unique intuition. That I thoroughly understood him and assassins. This time, the shipping branch of the Martial Righteous Alliance in Henan province was thrown into an uproar. The nameless hero, whom they had only heard about in rumors, had now brought in the corpse of the terrifying assassin Jong Baek. The bounty on him was a whopping 9,000 taels. With this incident, rumors about the nameless hero spread through the martial world once again. The end for villains. The nameless hero became the hope of ordinary people and the dream of children learning martial arts. Even without the Ma Ryong-in, I had been planning to make the nameless one a hero of the martial world. Thanks to him, I was easily achieving my goal. However, I still didn't know the Ma Ryong-in's purpose. In terms of go, I was giving him the first move now, I needed to find that first move. Several more days passed like that. During that time, 2 watchers died by my hand. There were days when watchers were attached, and days when there were none at all. Neither the Ma Ryong-in nor Ju Dukai showed any reaction to my killing of the watchers. They and I were getting used to each other. The journey that started by following the secret code was getting longer, but I wasn't worried about those waiting for me. Guangdu might be worried that I haven't returned, but basically, they were all wise people. They would be carrying out their own tasks. Over the past few days, the place I targeted to gather information was the Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy. The Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy was their base in Henan Province. There might be several branches or safe houses throughout Henan Province, but I was certain this was the central base. First of all, the scale of the academy was quite large. There were at least 200 staff members, and while there might be some regular staff, a considerable number would be their subordinates. Moreover, since the estate with the underground secret room was here in Zhengzhou, they would have needed to establish their main base here to support it. Anyway, the Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy was much less guarded compared to the estate. Ju Dukai usually stayed there. On days when there were no watchers, I infiltrated the Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy to monitor Ju Dukai. I had found a secret space where I could hear conversations in his office. On the day the Ma Ryong-in visited the Western Spear Manor and Eastern Sword Clan, he also stopped here for about a quarter of an hour. In other words, it meant he might come here again. If I could hear a conversation between just the two of them, I might find some clues. After monitoring Ju Dukai like this for several days, finally, the Ma Ryong-in visited the Zhengzhou Martial Arts Academy. After some conversation, they mentioned me. What's Nameless doing? Just living as usual. Going to brothels, drinking. Wandering around too. Find a way to make him even more famous. Young master, please tell me now. Why are you showing such kindness to that guy? Are you that curious? Yes, I really want to know. Then your question is wrong. Because I'm not showing kindness to him. Finally, the Ma Ryong-in revealed the fact he hadn't told until now. Do you know what's happening here in Zhengzhou next month? Next month? Isn't the Golden Grand Banquet, too, being held? That's right. The Golden Grand Banquet was a big event for merchants held once a year by the Central Plains Merchants Union. From wealthy merchants owning several large trading companies to small-scale merchants. It was truly a festival for all merchants of the Central Plains. The Golden Grand Banquet lasts for 10 days, and not only merchants but also the Martial Righteous Alliance leader and key figures of the Martial Righteous Alliance, as well as famous martial arts masters of the Gango, all participate. Big Brother will come then too. Ju Dukai could understand that the Big Brother the Ma Ryongin was referring to meant Ma Chiolgun. Blinking for a moment, Ju Dukai was startled. Don't tell me. He was so surprised he almost covered his own mouth. In contrast to his shock, the Ma Ryongin calmly said, "We'll send Nameless to assassinate Big Brother." Ju Dukai swallowed hard in astonishment, and the Ma Ryongin's explanation continued. "Nameless is now called a hero in the martial world. What do you think will happen if such a person kills our Big Brother?" Now it seemed clear what the Ma Ryongin's true intention was. In the succession struggle, the Ma Ryongin's biggest enemy was undoubtedly Ma Chiolgun. He was popular within the Heavenly Blade sect, and most people in the martial world predicted he would become the successor. But what if he dies? The Ma Ryongin would become the strongest successor candidate. Based on what's known externally, the rest are evaluated similarly, but the Ma Ryongin was a completely different person from what was known externally. Of course, it can't be said that there aren't cases where the outside and inside are different among other successors, but in Ju Dukai's view, no one could match the Ma Ryongin. Nameless is not only extremely skilled, but his internal energy has also increased dramatically. What do you think? Isn't it worth a try? But can he kill Ma Chiolgun? Ma Chiolgun's martial arts skills were outstanding among the successors. Moreover, there were many great masters around him. Even if the assassination fails, it doesn't matter. What? The fact that the nameless hero tried to kill him, that fact is important. People will think, why did that righteous hero try to kill Big Brother? Hasn't he done something bad behind the scenes? Ah. Now he could understand the Ma Ryongin's deep intention. But what if he's caught and confesses everything? He will die on the day he attempts the assassination. What? Don't we have that? At the word that, Ju Dukai got goosebumps. Probably, the Ma Ryongin had planned all this when he received Ju Dukai's report that day they first met, saying he was bringing someone called the Nameless Hero. Ju Dukai greatly admired his plan. The Ma Ryongin said with a smile of satisfaction. So let's make our hero bigger and stronger. I had been listening to all of their conversation. So this was truly the reason? I had been inwardly speculating like this. That they would use me as a sacrifice for some kind of test. Like that man who died bleeding from his 7 apertures that day. But for this reason? I really couldn't have imagined it. What exactly does that mean, which the Ma Ryongin mentioned? Could it be related to the underground secret rooms in the estate? A smile of satisfaction appeared on my lips as I regained the initiative I had lost. Once you know, you can prepare. All right, I'll gladly accept your kindness. Chapter 93, Between Kindness and Pretense, 3. The next day when Ju Dukai came to visit, I boldly made a request. I need some money. What's this all of a sudden? I've been thinking, and meeting you folks wasn't entirely like stepping in dog shit on the street. You bastard! But Ju Dukai didn't glare at me murderously like usual. He knew I was a dead man walking anyway. Such is the nature of human hearts. Since it's come to this, I want to become a proper martial hero. What does that have to do with money? How could it not? I need a good sword, good protective gear. I realized it'd be a waste to squander all my earnings at brothels. Sounds like you're trying to score big, not become a hero. So how much do you need? Just give me 20,000 Nyang. What? Ju Dukai frowned. Are you insane? Do you think 20,000 Nyang grows on trees? I know it doesn't, that's why I'm asking you for it. Go tell young Master Ma exactly what I said. Clicking his tongue with an incredulous expression, Ju Dukai left the inn. I smiled coldly as I watched him leave. Insolent intentions deserve just punishment. I had realized their plan to make me a hero before killing Ma Chiolgun. Fine, I'll gladly become your hero. But you'll have to pay a suitable price. This is about the future seat of the Martial Righteous Alliance leader. Ma Ryongin won't be able to refuse easily. There were still about 20 days left until the Golden Grand Banquet. Before then, I needed to find out what was in the underground secret room, what kind of test took place there, and how they obtained the unrepentant demonic spiritual pill. Only by knowing that could I plan how to deal with what comes next. That crazy bastard demanded 20,000 nyang. Ju Dukai spoke with an incredulous tone. Naturally, he expected a similar reaction, but Ma Ryongin said something unexpected. Give it to him. What? At first, he thought he had misheard. But he had heard correctly. Give him that money. Belatedly, Ju Dukai was startled. We can't. No matter how much they needed the guy, they couldn't just hand over such a large sum of 20,000 nyang. That's too much. If you insist on giving him something, a few thousand nyang should be plenty. But Ma Ryongin had already made up his mind to give the money. Isn't this the first time we've encountered someone like him? What do you mean? The sacrificial lamb is raising its own price, don't you see? Ma Ryongin saw this as a test of fate. It was the path to becoming the martial righteous alliance leader. The great undertaking itself was raising the value of the sacrifice. Wouldn't they invest this much to achieve such a grand goal? But 20,000 nyang is still too much money. Ju Dukai was adamantly opposed. No matter how much wealth they had amassed, 20,000 nyang was no small sum. It was more money than even he, who had served loyally for so long, had ever received. The thought of giving such a large amount to the guy sparked jealousy, anger, and greed he didn't know he had. The more we invest, the more we gain. Give it to him. There was a heavy force behind the words "give it to him." It meant he wouldn't discuss it any further. Ju Dukai sighed. Yes. It was an answer with an unspoken "damn it" at the end. The next day, Ju Dukai came to see me again and thrust the 20,000 nyang at me before leaving. I had been prepared to receive about 10,000 nyang, half of what I asked for, but I didn't expect to get the full 20,000 nyang like this. Indeed, that Ma Ryongin was a man whose true intentions were hard to guess. I had now earned 36,000 nyang, including the 16,000 nyang bounty. It was an enormous sum earned in a short time. One regrettable point was that both the bounty from the Martial Righteous Alliance and the money from Ma Ryongin weren't in small denomination bills. In other words, it was money that could be traced if someone tried, usable by the anonymous traveler but not by Byok Ri Dan. If that was the case, there was no need to be stingy with this money. I immediately took the money and went to find the black market Zhengzhou branch. Befitting a large city, the Zhengzhou branch was larger in scale than the black market in Shandong. The owner of this black market was a middle-aged man with manners and kindness. You came to buy elixir? That's right. Do you have any good elixirs? Unfortunately, our branch doesn't have any elixir in stock. It's been really hard to get elixir lately, as if someone's been hoarding it. The moment I heard those words, I flinched. I already knew that elixir had been hard to come by recently. I had used the black market several times before. But the word hoarding made my eyes widen. Could these guys be hoarding elixir? It was because of the secret test in the underground room. Moreover, they had enough wealth to give me 20,000 nyang without hesitation. If Ma Ryongin was the tail, there must be hands, feet, and a body too. What if they were buying up all the elixir? It was an uncertain guess, but somehow it sent a chill down my spine. We have many other good items besides elixir. Would you like to take a look? Let's do that. Hoping I would spend some money before leaving, I followed him to where the weapons were displayed. Given the scale, there was a much wider variety of weapons than at the Shandong black market. But I passed by the swords without even looking at them. There are many good swords, why aren't you looking at them? Swords are too expensive. True. Swords are the most expensive items. I looked around to see if there was anything worth buying, but nothing particularly caught my eye. The only thing worth considering was protective armor. What kinds of protective armor do you have? The owner showed me several pieces of protective armor. One that was too thick and obvious, as if you were going to war wearing it, was 9,000 nyang, while one that wasn't visible from the outside and fit snugly to the body was 140,000 nyang. The cheap one was too impractical, and the inconspicuous one was ridiculously expensive. 140,000 nyang? That's too expensive. It's worth every nyang. My life isn't worth that much. I moved on. Then something caught my eye. There was a fishing rod standing to one side that looked somewhat familiar. What's that? It's a unique weapon once used by the Southern Sea Fisherman. 1. The Southern Sea Fisherman was someone who had died about 10 years ago, and I had been quite close to him. He was also someone who had fought at the forefront against the 4 demonic sects in the past. Is that for sale too? It is for sale, but there's one thing you should know first. What's that? Unfortunately, the fishing line is broken and missing. So while it should normally sell for 70,000 to 80,000 nyang, we're selling it for 10,000 nyang now. I nodded while looking at the fishing rod. If you buy it, I'll give it to you specially for 7,000 nyang. Considering the Southern Sea fisherman's past reputation, it was an absurdly cheap price. However, a fishing rod without a line could be considered almost worthless. Most of the techniques used by those who wielded fishing rods as weapons required the fishing line. All right. I'll buy it for 7,000 nyang. Oh. You've made a good choice. The owner was delighted to sell the fishing rod that hadn't sold for a long time. I immediately bought one more item. It was a wrist guard. This time, I chose the best one among those on display. This is the snake wrist guard, 2, worn by Quanwung, 3, a fist master of the previous generation. It's light and very durable. I had heard of the snake wrist guard before. It could easily block ordinary swords. Of course, it couldn't withstand the sharpness of the Azura Bright King sword, but it could block up to the Heavenly Creation sword. Of course, this was based on the sharpness of the sword itself, not the sword energy or sword chi. How much? A pair for 22,000 nyang. Good. I'll buy this too. You've made an excellent choice. The owner's smile widened. He had sold both the long unsold fishing rod and wrist guards in one day. But at that moment, I was even happier than him. Because I knew a secret that he didn't. Back at the inn, I locked the door of my room and closed the curtains on the windows. Then I immediately set to work on something. First, I picked up the Southern Sea fisherman's fishing rod. I infused it with inner energy and pulled on the handle. Then the handle, which had seemed inseparable, detached and came off. Inside the handle was a thin rod with fishing line tightly wound around it. In the past, I had directly seen the Southern Sea fisherman take out the fishing line from this handle and reattach it on the battlefield. The Southern Sea fisherman's fishing line was made of heavenly silkworm thread from beyond the world, treated with special chemicals to make it incredibly durable. It was thanks to this heavenly silkworm thread that the Southern Sea fisherman had become a famous master in the martial world with just one fishing rod. I unwound it all and wrapped it around the snake wrist guard in multiple layers. When the heavenly silkworm thread was wrapped in several layers around the already strong and durable snake wrist guard, it was reborn as a truly powerful protective gear. This was the reason why I bought the fishing rod and immediately bought the snake wrist guard. Ha ha ha. A satisfied laugh escaped me. I now had a really practical protective gear for someone who uses the immortal crane's secret art. Moreover, wrapped with the heavenly silkworm thread, it no longer looked like the original snake wrist guard, and it was difficult for others to even notice that I was wearing it under martial arts clothes with narrow sleeves. After finishing the work, I went to the window and pulled back the curtains again. I looked at the scenery outside for a moment, basking in the pleasant sunlight. The only thing left to do now was to find a way into the underground secret room. What if I infiltrated when Ma Ryong-in went out with his 8 guards? I could at least find my way to the mansion, and somehow locate the mechanism leading down to the underground. The problem was the mechanism in the underground corridor. There were 4 mechanisms installed in the corridor. If even one activated, it would be all for naught. They would discover that I had infiltrated. What if I flew across the corridor? Wouldn't at least one of the 4 activate? Considering how smoothly the mechanism that lowered us underground moved, it was undoubtedly made by a highly skilled craftsman. There's no way they would have made it possible to pass through with lightness skills. If infiltration was impossible, what other options were there? Dingju was bustling with preparations for the Golden Grand Banquet. Stages were being set up everywhere. During the 10 days of the Golden Grand Banquet, various competitions and events would be held. From martial arts competitions to night market selling goods all night long, famous musicians from the Central Plains were invited to play instruments, and troops of performers would put on shows. It was truly a festival unfolding. I was standing looking at the open space where a platform was being built. Then someone spoke from behind me. I hear the Martial Righteous Alliance leader will give a speech here. I turned around to see Ma Ryong-in walking towards me. About 10 paces away, 8 masters were standing. It was the first time I felt their energy up close. As I had initially guessed, they were masters on par with Sim Huang, whom I had killed before. Shouldn't you say a father instead of a Martial Righteous Alliance leader? One must separate public and private matters. You're not entirely without affection for each other, are you? After smiling somewhat acknowledging it, Ma Ryongin changed the subject. You look well. Money does feel good. I'm truly grateful for the 20,009 you gave me earlier. To be honest, although I asked for it, I didn't expect you to give it so freely. I've gained a new respect for you, young Master Ma. Ma Ryongin grinned at my honest words. I'm glad you finally understand my heart. So, what do you plan to do with that money? I'm not sure yet. I don't even know if I'll still be alive a year from now. I deliberately didn't mention my visit to the black market. You can live? Ma Ryongin said with eyes that showed not a hint of deception. His eyes don't waver at all. Even I couldn't tell he was lying just from this expression. Of course, he is lying right now. He seems to have been born with more talent for deceiving and using people than for martial arts. Our gazes naturally turned to where the construction was taking place. Do you know about the Golden Grand Banquet? I've heard of it. Truly, all sorts of wealthy people from the martial world gather here. It must be quite a sight. The Golden Grand Banquet opens in 15 days. On that day, Ma Bongi will stand on that platform and give a speech. My heart is already churning at the thought. To think that the Martial Righteous Alliance, to which I devoted my entire life, has fallen into the hands of such a lecherous maniac. I have a question, if I may ask. Go ahead. What exactly was in that room? Are you curious? Of course I'm curious. I'm also wondering what kind of materials you're gathering. Is some grand technique being performed? Ma Ryongin smiled enigmatically. By the way, who was that person who wouldn't let me enter the room back then? Ma Ryongin's expression stiffened slightly. I could sense that his relationship with that person wasn't entirely good. Why do you ask about him? I was just curious whether he was the leader or a subordinate. He's my subordinate. I tilted my head. It seems you really have a taste for arrogant people. Considering our usual banter, he might have laughed at least once, but his expression became even more rigid. I pretended not to notice and turned my gaze elsewhere, speaking casually. I don't need to see the room anymore. There's plenty to see out here now. When you truly want something, sometimes it's wise to take a step back. This is especially true when dealing with people who have strong pride or think they're clever. Pushing such people only makes them more resistant. Instead, you need to take a step back and let them reveal their own vulnerabilities. I chose to provoke Ma Ryongin's pride rather than trying to break through the mechanisms. I've been thinking about the connection you mentioned before. It's a bit awkward to say this between men, but I do feel there's some kind of bond between us. His rigid expression softened slightly. Well then, I'll see you next time, young Master Ma. I immediately said goodbye and turned away. Now it was time to wait and see. To see what kind of synergistic interaction would occur between my earlier provocation of his pride and these words just now. Hey, you're mistaken if you think you're the only one who can manipulate people with social skills. If you're a viper, I'm someone who's dealt with all kinds of cunning snakes. One way or another, I'll make you open that door with your own hands. Chapter 94, Beyond the Door, 1. A man was rampaging wildly in a narrow room. He swung his fist towards the wall. Thud! Clang! The wall dented with a deep metallic sound. Boom! Clang! Thud! Clang! He threw punches in rapid succession, but the thick steel wall only dented without breaking or collapsing. Thick veins bulged all over the man's body like crawling earthworms as he struck the wall, and his breathing was as rough as if he had run 10,000 miles. The man who had been pounding one wall suddenly turned his head towards the back. There was a hole about the size of an adult's palm in the opposite wall, and someone was peering into the room. Like a predator spotting prey, the man lunged towards that wall. Thud! Boom! After pounding the wall a few times to no avail, the man peered through the hole. He could see two people beyond the hole. Growling. He exuded a murderous intent, wanting to break through the wall right away and kill those two people. In contrast, the two people watching the man from outside were calm. They were Ma Ryongin and Ju Dukai. Facing the man who was growling lowly with bloodshot eyes, Ju Dukai spoke with slight excitement. He's still so lively. I have a good feeling about this time. Ma Ryongin reminded Ju Dukai of the reality in response to his hope. What's important is from here on out. Ju Dukai lit the incense he was holding with the lamp hanging on the wall. The incense began to burn, emitting smoke. If he can endure until this incense burns out completely from now, it's a success. Tension filled Ju Dukai's eyes. Over the past few years, the tests had consistently failed, consuming enormous time and resources. Above all, the continued failures had worn down their spirits. Please, just this once. Burn out quickly. Contrary to his desperate wish, the incense burned slowly. The man who had been pacing around the room suddenly stopped. Aurora! He bulged his eyes. The whites of his eyes turned bright red. Those completely reddened eyes were like seeing a ghost. No. Hang in there. Ju Dukai cried out anxiously. In contrast, Ma Ryong-in, standing beside him, just watched impassively. The man in the room started convulsing again. It was a much more severe fit than before. Thud. Boom. Boom. The thick steel walls dented deeply, but the man's hands weren't injured at all. Just a little more, hang on just a little longer. In response to Ju Dukai's encouragement, the man brought his face to the hole. He struggled in agony, making choking sounds as if begging to be saved. Endure it. You bastard. I said endure. Aurora. The man convulsed in agony, then suddenly stopped moving. Swoosh. The man collapsed in a heap, bleeding from the 7 apertures of his face. Silence fell in the room where he had been rampaging. Ju Dukai sighed and looked down at the incense he was holding. More than half of it remained. Damn it! Ju Dukai glanced at Ma Ryong-in beside him. Though he didn't show it outwardly, he was furious. Ju Dukai quickly held up the remaining incense and said to Ma Ryong-in. Still, he lasted a bit longer today. But those words provided no comfort at all. Rather, it seemed to be some kind of signal, as Ma Ryong-in strode off. He stood in front of one of the 2 facing rooms, the one emitting a strange energy. He tried to pull open the door, but it was locked. Ma Ryong-in said quietly, "Open the door." But the door didn't open. Ju Dukai, who was watching, tensed inwardly. He sensed that Ma Ryong-in was much angrier than usual. I said open it. As Ma Ryong-in raised his voice, a man appeared from the end of the corridor. He strode over and stood blocking the door. You can't do this. Move aside. I'm sorry, but you can't. Didn't we agree not to force it open if it's not opened from inside? Number 2 calmly explained while not budging an inch. Ma Ryong-in's anger shifted towards Number 2. I told you to move. If you keep doing this, I'll have no choice but to report to the higher-ups. Higher-ups? Then what am I? Am I lower? Am I beneath your feet? He burst out with murderous intent, but Number 2 didn't flinch at all. It was then. Tap. A sound came from the opposite room. It wasn't any other sound, just the sound of knocking on the door once. It was a warning to be quiet. Number 2's whole body trembled. He who hadn't been intimidated by Ma Ryong-in's murderous intent was now scared. Ma Ryong-in asked quickly. Just who is in that room? Surprisingly, even Ma Ryong-in didn't know who was in that room emitting such powerful energy. Only Number 2, who played the role of overseer, knew what was in that room. You bastards! If you couldn't trust me, you shouldn't have recruited me in the first place. If you recruited me, you should trust me to the end. Ju Dukai, who was watching, was inwardly surprised. Not just Number 2, but Ma Ryong-in too was someone who rarely showed his emotions. Even with countless test failures, this was the first time he had gotten so angry. Please leave now. At Number 2's dismissal, Ma Ryong-in spoke coldly. Arrogant bastard. You'll definitely regret this. As he turned to walk away, Ma Ryong-in suddenly recalled the nameless traveler's words. It seems you really have a taste for arrogant people. Damn it! Ma Ryong-in, who had been walking towards his room, turned around again and went outside. Ju Dukai, who was watching, could sense it. That Ma Ryong-in was changing. He couldn't yet understand why. The streets of Xingju began to get crowded. Although there were still 10 days left until the Golden Grand Banquet, people from all over the Central Plains had started gathering early. Especially since it was a festival for merchants, numerous traders gathered from various regions. Goods never seen before appeared in the marketplace, and many people gathered to buy them. I too was pushed along by the crowd, looking at the goods. There truly was a wide variety of items. As I wandered around, I bought a few things. There were things I needed to buy, and things I bought on impulse. Among them was some tracking incense that I thought I might use someday. In any case, my knowledge of martial world items was put to good use, and thanks to that, I wasn't overcharged or fooled by fakes. I had spent almost all of the 7,000 nyang I had left after buying the snake wrist guard and fishing rod. Rather than feeling like I had wasted money, I felt somehow liberated. When I returned to the inn, Ma Ryong-in was sitting on the first floor drinking alcohol.
Did you come looking for me?
That's right. He must have been there for quite a while, as there were already 3 or 4 empty bottles. I sat down across from him and ordered more alcohol and food. You should have sent word ahead. I drink well enough on my own. You've come at a good time. I was just thinking of having a drink myself. I downed in one gulp the alcohol Ma Ryong-in poured for me. Was it because my body had gotten younger? Or because my mind had changed? The alcohol went down better and tasted better than during my time as the alliance leader. Well, back then I didn't have time to properly enjoy alcohol. Fearing I might make a mistake while drunk, I used my inner energy to expel the alcohol as soon as it entered my body. At that time, I thought only of my duties as alliance leader and the peace of the martial world. When I had any time left after being swamped with work, I devoted myself to martial arts training. Now I think I understand a little.
Why I couldn't reach the realm of the mind sword?
It wasn't because I lacked earnestness. It was because my way of life was wrong. How could I have achieved the realm of the mind sword with a life so tightly bound and training done out of greed and obligation? If only I had leisurely enjoyed drinks, traveled occasionally. If only I had known then what I know now, it would have been so much better. I'm curious about something.
What is it?
They say in the martial world that those with too much curiosity die early, but damn it. I'm so curious I can't stand it. How did you end up involved in this kind of business?
What kind of business?
The things I saw underground. The man who died bleeding, that room with the strange energy flowing out, that's not normal, is it? That man could have been a villain, couldn't he? He could have ended up like that while being tortured by the Martial Righteous Alliance trying to uncover his background. I smirked. Do I look that naive to you? Then what about those who died by my hand at Ju family estate? Were they Martial Righteous Alliance martial artists too? Ma Ryong-in laughed along. You are indeed clever. If I were so clever, would I be asking these questions? Actually, I'm more curious about something else.
What is it?
Is what you're doing now your own independent work, young Master Ma, or is it the Alliance leader's doing? What do you think? In my opinion, it seems like something you've undertaken independently. Why do you think that? Ma Ryong-in's eyes gleamed with interest. No matter what, I don't think the Martial Righteous Alliance leader would be involved in such shady business, would he? At that, Ma Ryong-in laughed again. Why are you laughing? Even you have a different inside and outside, don't you? To the world, you're known as a hero of the martial world, but in reality, you're just a petty person greedy for money. So does the Alliance leader know about this? My eyes gleamed with interest. He might, or he might not. So you won't tell me after all. Didn't you say it yourself? That knowing too many secrets makes you die early. Let's not end our connection over futile curiosity. Here he is, planning to use me and then kill me, yet speaking so naturally without his expression changing at all. It's almost admirable in a way. Oh, please accept this. I took something out from my breast pocket. It was one of the things I had bought at the marketplace earlier. It's a gift. It was a portable whetstone that could be carried around to sharpen swords. I had chosen an expensive and good quality one among portable ones, so it was very light and effective. It can't compare to the kindness you've shown me, but I wanted to repay you somehow. I'd like to buy you something grand, but I didn't know what to get you. Do you trust me now? I shook my head and said, your kindness still feels like a trap to me. But in life, sometimes you knowingly fall into traps, don't you? I'm tired today, so I'll go up and rest first. Please stay and drink. I fled upstairs. Before entering my room, I glanced down and saw him still sitting there, looking down at the whetstone. This was the moment my tactical kindness was being conveyed. 2 days later, Ma Ryong-in called me to his mansion. I couldn't tell if it was because my show of kindness had been effective, or if it was just a coincidence. Judukai came and blindfolded me, then took me there in a carriage.
Are we close enough that you don't need to blindfold me? Close? Did we ever have that kind of relationship?
From his irritable response, I could tell that he was still angry about the 20,000 nyang I had received earlier. It's a welcome thing when enemies' emotions are stirred up and on edge. At times like this, I need to keep my own heart calm and composed. I got off the carriage and entered the mansion. I focused my mind. Exactly how many steps we took, when we turned, which mechanism they triggered to open the secret door leading underground. Thanks to that, I was able to notice Judukai adjusting the lamp on the wall to activate the mechanism that opened the door to the underground. The door opened, and the device carrying him and me descended underground. We walked down that corridor again from before. The same murderous intent could still be felt from the 4 mechanisms. After passing through the corridor and turning a corner, a new corridor appeared. We passed by the room with 8 guards. Their presence meant that Ma Ryong-in was here. Next, we came across 2 rooms facing each other. We passed by the room emitting a mysterious energy and the room exuding a powerful force. I was guided to the last room where I had dined with him before. When my blindfold was removed, Ma Ryong-in was sitting with another person. It was the man who had prevented me from entering the room before. Greet each other. I greeted him first.
I don't know if you're aware, but I have no name. You can just call me Nameless. The man replied gruffly.
I too have no name. Then Ma Ryong-in spoke. But there is a word used to refer to you, isn't there? For a moment, the man's expression stiffened slightly, then he spoke nonchalantly. I am called Number 2. Number 2. My guess was correct. He was definitely from the same organization as her? If you're Number 2, you must be quite skilled. You're right after Number 1, aren't you? I threw it out like a joke, but I was genuinely curious. Whether the numbers in that organization were really assigned based on skill, or if they were just assigned for convenience. He gave no answer. He gave off a similar feeling to Number 7 whom I had seen before, but this man was clearly a different person from her. From Number 7, I had sensed a kind of loneliness and emptiness. I had felt her longing to escape from her work. But this man was not like that. He was someone satisfied with his work and trying to be faithful to it. Someone trying to do his job better. Easy to use, but also very dangerous at the same time. Now that this person has become one of us, why don't you show him the room? Number 2's expression stiffened slightly more. I could see a power struggle unfolding between the two. It was the situation I had wanted. If my opponent had been Ma Jongsu, I would have smiled with satisfaction. But instead of rejoicing, I steeled myself to be even more careful. It was certain that my recent relationship with him had created this opportunity. But while my relationship with him might be the catalyst, it wouldn't be the result. Meaning he's not someone who would spare my life just because we've gotten closer. He will try to use even this relationship somehow. Ma Ryong-in is like a deep, dark well whose bottom cannot be seen. I thought that perhaps this occasion today might be to carry out that which they had spoken of that day. I must be careful. Number 2 quietly looked back and forth between me and Ma Ryong-in, then stood up without prolonging it further. Follow me. With a trembling heart, I followed him along with Ma Ryong-in. And so we stood in front of the room from which the mysterious energy was flowing. Chapter 95, Beyond the Door, 2. Number 2 spoke politely in front of the door. It's me. I'm bringing young Master Ma and the great hero Nameless to enter for a moment. He stated precisely who was entering. This showed how much he respected and was careful of the person inside. When Number 2 opened the door, it opened smoothly. This time, it wasn't locked. Let's go in. He left without entering, as if he had completed his duty. I entered with Ma Ryong-in. Not knowing what was waiting for us, I was on high alert. The room was filled with objects I had never seen before. Before I could examine each one, a strong smell assaulted my nose. An ordinary person might think it was the scent of medicine from a doctor's office, but I could identify the exact nature of this smell. It was a mixture of 2 scents I knew best. The odors of elixir and poison were strangely intermingled. Amidst this smell were all sorts of objects. The first thing I noticed was a large sphere. About a dozen bamboo tubes were connected to the sphere, and at the end of each tube were several containers. The containers were of different colors, and it seemed that various elixirs or poisons were being gathered into the central sphere through these containers. As if it wasn't just collecting the substances in one place, there were devices attached to the box for boiling and cooling. The mysterious energy I had felt earlier was coming from that sphere. More precisely, it was emanating from the substance inside the sphere. On one side were piles of various medicinal ingredients, and there were boxes containing venomous creatures like snakes and centipedes. On the opposite wall was a large paper covered with unfamiliar characters and numbers. It looked like some kind of calculation was being done, but it was beyond my understanding. There was a desk placed against the wall with the paper, and books were piled like mountains not only on the desk but all around it. Among them sat a woman with her back turned. She was reading a book and didn't even turn her head when we entered. Of course, I had noticed her presence first when I entered the room, but an ordinary person probably wouldn't have noticed her existence. There were so many eye-catching things in this space, and conversely, she was sitting still like a doll. She blended into this space so well that she almost felt like part of the background. Ma Ryongin spoke to her. "When people come, you should at least face them and greet them." The woman spoke without turning around. "You're not people, are you?" Her voice was clear and resonant. As if he had heard this many times before, Ma Ryongin wasn't offended at all. "That's why I brought a person here. It's probably the same old story." Ma Ryongin smiled faintly at me. He felt fondness for her. She must be someone essential to Ma Ryongin. The test failed again. Suddenly, the woman's voice lost its strength. "I know." Only then did she stand up and turn towards us. The moment I saw her, I was startled. She was far more beautiful than I had imagined. Moreover, she was wearing clothes that revealed her figure, which was incredibly sensual. Her breasts were large, her waist was slim, and her legs were straight and long. With such looks, you wouldn't expect her to be poring over books in a place like this, and this contradiction made her appear truly alluring. And one more thing. Her face made it impossible to tell how old she was. At first glance, she looked like she was in her early 20s, but from another angle, she could have been in her 30s. If she was in her 30s, she had an incredibly youthful appearance. And decisively, she was an extremely skilled master. She was far more skilled than Ma Ryongin or Ju Dukai, of course. She couldn't compare to me, but it had been a long time since I'd encountered such a highly skilled woman. She looked at me, then came closer and sniffed. "Is this the new candidate?" "His scent is good." Ma Ryongin laughed and said. "No. He's my friend." "Friend? You have such things?" She glanced at Ma Ryongin, then said to me, "If you get close to someone like him, you'll die early." It wasn't a joke, but it wasn't entirely serious either, so it was an ambiguous statement that was hard to know how to respond to. "I've been feeling that keenly lately." "Then why do you hang around with him?" "I've been caught in a trap." Traps are scary. Especially his traps are very powerful. She spoke bluntly, but Ma Ryongin showed no reaction. The woman stared at me quietly. "But there's something strange about you." She seemed to sense something from me. The strange feeling was mutual. As she looked at me, she glanced at Ma Ryongin. Her expression seemed to ask, "This guy?" Ma Ryongin smiled and said, "A friend I want to keep even if I have to set a trap." It was an answer to the earlier conversation, and at the same time, a response to her silent question. At this moment, I could sense it. That which he had mentioned before was related to this woman. That they were planning to subject me to the test they had done on those men before. I looked at Ma Ryongin, pretending not to know anything. He was smiling at me with a kindly expression. The test subjects had died bleeding from their 7 apertures. To think he could smile like that while planning to kill me. Having lost interest, the woman returned to her seat. And she started reading her book again. Ma Ryongin and I looked around the room. Standing in front of some venomous creatures on one side, I asked, "What exactly are you making here?" "Medicine." "Medicine?" "Medicine that makes the user invincible. At the same time, medicine that will save your life." "No way? Is this the place?" "Yes. This is where research is being conducted to remove the word unrepentance and replace it with invincibles or dot. In other words, they were researching how to eliminate the side effects of the unrepentant demonic spiritual pill." "You deceived me. You made it sound like you already had a solution."
It would be stranger if there was a solution for such a drug. But we will definitely succeed within a year. Ma Ryongin looked at the woman and asked, "Isn't that right?" The woman replied without turning around. "Since you two came and disturbed me, it might take a day or so longer than a year." Ma Ryongin smiled at me. "Don't worry. We will definitely succeed within a year. Do you now understand why I wanted to show you this place?" I nodded. Ma Ryongin spoke again. "Trust me." At that moment, the woman suddenly said without turning around, "Do you know how to drink alcohol?" Not sure if she was talking to me, I looked at Ma Ryongin with a confused expression. Ma Ryongin nodded as if to say yes. Only then did I answer her. "Of course. But I don't drink alone." She got up from her seat and picked up a coat hanging on one side. "That's good. Have a drink with me." Lest Ma Ryongin try to join, she spoke first. "We'll drink just the two of us. So don't even dream about it." Half an hour later, we were drinking at a tavern. Number 2 had brought me here blindfolded. When she moved, Number 2 followed. Even now, he was waiting in the carriage parked outside the tavern. Now I thought that Number 2's main duty might not be to monitor Ma Ryongin, but to protect her. She said it had been a long time since she'd had a drink and made sure to eat some food with every sip of alcohol. If you just drink, it ruins your stomach. If you're thinking of your health, you shouldn't be cooped up underground like that. It's work. Work I have to do whether I like it or not. Is there really such a thing as work you have no choice but to do? Couldn't you just close your eyes tight and run off somewhere? Run away. I expected her to say something like how carefree or how irresponsible, but she smiled brightly and said, "It feels good just thinking about it." At this moment, her expression was so bright that I could tell it was something that could never come true. Looking at her again, she was a strange woman. She had an intellectual air that didn't match her sensual appearance. She possessed a mysteriousness as enigmatic as the mysterious energy emanating from the sphere. One thing was certain, this woman was in charge of the underground tests. Judging from how Ma Ryongin treated her and how Number 2 followed her, she held an important position in this organization. "What's your name? Are you in any position to ask for someone else's name?" She said this because Number 2 had introduced me as the great hero Nameless when we entered the room. It's frustrating enough that I don't have a name, but not knowing the name of the person I'm sitting across from is really frustrating. I didn't think she would easily tell me her name, but unexpectedly, she did. "It's Im Yun-jong, 1. "Oh, that's a nice name. Well, since we've met like this, let's have a toast." She cheerfully raised her glass and downed it in one go. She was very good at drinking. "What kind of research are you doing exactly?" "Research to make a living." But she didn't make any slip-ups even while drunk. She was flawless. She didn't say anything that would reveal her identity. She didn't even tell me her age. Meanwhile, she occasionally threw questions at me. "How did you get to know young Master Ma?" "We met by chance." I told her the story of how I discovered the code through Joe Byok, who was running a brothel with young girls, and came here. "So you were originally a martial hero?" "A hero?" "No. It just happened that way by chance." Im Yun-jong stared at me quietly. At times like this, she seemed far removed from evil. But one shouldn't judge or evaluate someone based solely on impressions and feelings. "Then how did you come to know young Master Ma?" "For a much more mundane reason than you." Instead of answering, she drank. Like most of my questions, this too fell into the category of questions she wouldn't answer. As we talked, she would burst into laughter at times, and look sad at others. Her emotions were hard to pin down, but one thing was clear. She seemed to have been feeling very stifled lately. It seemed she had wanted to drink like this with someone, laughing and chatting. The fact that she chose me, someone she had just met, for this suggests that her life hasn't been very smooth. When you look at Ma Ryongin, he gives off a full feeling. Whether it's evil or ambition, he's full of it. Number 2 is the same. But she was different. From her, you could sense a kind of emptiness. Like an emptiness in her heart. Only after emptying 3 bottles of alcohol did she stand up. We had been so focused on drinking as if it were a competition that not much time had passed. As she was about to leave after finishing the drinks, she left a final word. "When you make friends with bad guys in the martial world, you have to become an even worse guy. That's how you survive."
I don't think young Master Ma is such a bad person. She looked at me quietly, then left with one last remark. If you don't have an eye for people, at least keep your ears open. When Im Yun-jong returned to the mansion, Ma Ryong-in was waiting in front of her room. Did you two have a good time? Not seeing your face made the alcohol go down smoothly. I'm glad I could be of help, even in that way. As she was about to enter with a snort, Ma Ryong-in suddenly said, I'm going to have him take the antidote we're researching. For a moment, Im Yun-jong's movement stopped. A hint of sadness flashed across her eyes. She knew better than anyone that taking an incomplete antidote would result in death. The person would go berserk with dramatically increased strength before eventually dying, bleeding from the 7 apertures. He's clever. He won't believe it if you say a cure was developed in just a few days. Just tell him it's the first medicine he needs to take for treatment. What if I refuse? Then don't. Even without Ma Ryong-in resorting to petty threats, she was in no position to refuse his request. Finally, with a light sigh, she asked, when is he to take it? 10 days from now, on the opening day of the Golden Grand Banquet. I understand, but before making him take it, there are things we need to do after bringing him here. Isn't that why you drank with him? To make that process easier? That's what I thought. Im Yun-jong's expression soured at his snake-like words, implying she should handle it herself. Ma Ryong-in took a step back, not provoking her further. I'll help too. So proceed according to the plan. When she didn't respond, Ma Ryong-in asked as if testing the waters. Did you take a liking to him? There are people you get a feeling about at first sight. You, and him too. How about me, and how about him? Just know that they're opposite. That person received quite a high evaluation. Ha ha ha. As Ma Ryong-in was about to leave the room, this time she said sharply, didn't you say he was your friend? In contrast, Ma Ryong-in replied nonchalantly, didn't you say I'm not human? Even though her hand closing the door could have shown some irritation, he closed it quietly and respectfully before disappearing. Chapter 96, Beyond the Door, 3. Song Warren had seen Guangdu a few times before. Until now, she had only known him as a servant of the Biok clan Sword Manor and Biok Ri Dan. But the Guangdu displaying martial arts in front of her now looked more like a true martial artist than any other. Swoosh! Guangdu's saber slashed through the air with tremendous force, as if ripping it apart. Thanks to having completely mastered the 7 forms of the Southern Sea and practicing diligently every day without fail, its power was incomparably greater than when he first learned the martial art. She should have turned away after seeing someone else's martial arts training, but his saber techniques were so impressive and powerful that she couldn't take her eyes off them. Belatedly, she turned her body and made her presence known. Guangdu stopped his training and looked in her direction. Who's there? Song Warren turned back around at Guangdu's question. Recognizing Song Warren, Guangdu's eyes widened. Huck! He was so surprised that Song Warren was startled too. Young miss? Yes, it's me. Wara? How did you come to be here, young miss? Guangdu hurriedly ran over and bowed to her. His excessive greeting made Song Warren bow her head as well. At this, Guangdu jumped up. How could you bow your head to a lowly person like me? Lowly? Don't say such things. She had never looked down on servants. Moreover, the martial arts she had just seen from Guangdu were skills that no one could easily dismiss. But what brings you here? I came to Wuhan on an errand for my father. I heard that you were staying at this inn, so I stopped by briefly. The innkeeper told me you were training here, so I came. Unexpectedly, she had come to see Guangdu training in martial arts, not Biok Ri Dan. Guangdu wore a regretful expression. Young master is not here at the moment. Ah, I see. It's all right, I just dropped by while passing. Of course, it wasn't all right. She had volunteered for the errand because she wanted to see Biok Ri Dan. She had considered the possibility of not meeting him since she came without prior notice, but actually not seeing him made her feel disappointed. Please tell him I stopped by. Of course. Guangdu looked even more regretful. Wasn't Guangdu Song Warren's absolute supporter? Young miss. Yes? Don't let our young master slip away. Song Warren was startled by this unexpected statement. She hadn't expected Guangdu to say such a thing. Guangdu was serious. In his earnest gaze, Song Warren could glimpse his sincere concern for Byok Ri Dan. It wasn't for his own sake. It was for Byok Ri Dan, and sensing that sentiment made her feel grateful and close to Gwangdu. Song Warren answered vigorously. Yes. Even after answering, Song Warren was surprised at herself. She hadn't expected to answer so energetically. It was a sentiment she rarely showed even to Suran. Perhaps she had received some sort of encouragement from Gwangdu, maybe she had been desperately wanting someone to cheer her on. She smiled and added, "In return, please help me a lot." Gwangdu smiled brightly and said in a loud voice, "Don't worry. I'm always on your side, young miss." The very next day after drinking with Im Yunjong, Ma Ryongin came to see me. "How was yesterday?" "What do you mean?" When I pretended not to know, Ma Ryongin smiled enigmatically. "You seem to have taken a liking to her. Why do you think that?" "It's written all over your face. That you really enjoyed it." "How could that be?" I went to the mirror and looked at my face. The unfamiliar face of the nameless traveler stared back at me grumpily. Before I could even get used to Byok Ri Dan's face, I was now seeing a new face every day. But it's all right. It doesn't matter what my face looks like. I was on a long journey to find my sword of the heart. There's nothing written on my face. Ha ha ha. How could you see your own feelings for a woman with your own eyes? I sat down in front of him again and said, "I'll be honest. I do like her." "What do you like about her so much?" "She has a pretty face, an amazing body. And she's smart too. She's a really charming woman. If I could date a woman like that, I might even risk my life. But she's a dangerous woman. I like dangerous women even more." Then I glared at him and asked, "Don't tell me? Are you jealous?" Ha ha ha. "Of course not. I'm not the kind of person who covets a friend's woman." "Friend?" I showed a slightly flustered expression, but he said confidently, "Yes, friend." "Fine. Then prove it." "How?" "Take me to her right now." Ma Ryongin shook his head with a troubled expression. "She drank yesterday, it would be troublesome to disturb her work again today." I gave him a "See, I told you so" look. "Heh. I thought so. It's all for your life's sake." Indeed, Ma Ryongin was a master. He knew that making me more desperate before taking me was more effective than taking me right away. If his opponent hadn't been me, they would have been helplessly played by his manipulation. Many must have fallen for it until now, and that's how he got to his current position. If the tail is this formidable, how amazing must the body and head be? Instead, I'll treat you to a grand drink today. Ha ha ha. Sounds good. The fact that Ma Ryongin moved directly like this meant he had some purpose. That day, I went to a brothel with Ma Ryongin and drank and played to our heart's content. When I was thoroughly drunk, he finally revealed his true colors. First, he let out a deep sigh. "You look like the world's about to end." "Did something happen?" "No." "Come on. Tell me what's wrong." After drinking several cups in succession and dismissing all the courtesans, he finally revealed his troubled state of mind. "When the Golden Grand Banquet opens, my father and brothers will come here." "I suppose so." "Then I'll have to see my brother." "Brother?" "Ma Cheolgun, I mean." "Ah. You mean the great hero Ma, the likely successor." At that, he snorted. "Great hero? Don't make me laugh. He's not someone who should have the titles great hero. He's a person whose inside and outside are completely different." "Is that true?" "He's committed all sorts of dirty deeds behind the scenes. Even murder and rape." I couldn't know what kind of person Ma Cheolgun really was. But at least all these words Ma Ryongin was saying now were likely lies or slander. There's no one trustworthy in the martial world, is there? I spoke casually, as if it had nothing to do with me anyway. Nevertheless, Ma Ryongin continued to badmouth Ma Cheolgun. He was in the process of making him out to be someone who deserved to die. To think I have to lose the successor position to such a person! He expressed his anguish and drank several more cups of alcohol. "Do you know why I'm doing all this? It's to reclaim the successor position from him." "But how can you reclaim it?" Ma Ryongin said nothing. I spoke his thoughts for him. "You're thinking of killing him."
Ma Ryong-in didn't answer, keeping his head down, then slowly raised his head to look at me. His face was filled with despair, borrowed from drunkenness. It was more intense and pitiful because it was an expression he had never shown before. Without realizing it, I blurted out, "I'll..." But I swallowed the words, offering to kill him instead. I might feel a sudden surge of emotion, but it wasn't a matter to hastily offer to do. Ma Ryong-in raised his cup, and I silently toasted with him. That was the last cup, and our drinking session ended there. For several days, Ma Ryong-in didn't come to see me. Instead, Ju Dukai came and gave me one more simple job. It was to eliminate a villain worth 6,000 Niang. Above all, maintaining the reputation of the nameless hero was important. While the rumors about the nameless hero had subsided a bit in Xingju due to preparations for the Golden Grand Banquet, his popularity was still soaring in other regions. This new act of eliminating a villain would keep the nameless hero a topic of conversation. I finished the job as quickly as possible and then conveyed to Ju Dukai that I wanted to meet Ma Ryong-in. 2 days later, Ma Ryong-in came to see me in person. He was moving according to his own meticulous plan. I drank too much that day. I was so drunk too that I can't even remember. It's fortunate you've forgotten my drunken behavior. I remember one thing. One thing? What do you want to do? The story about your brother. At that, Ma Ryong-in showed a startled expression. I've been thinking about it carefully since that day. After a brief pause, I said, I'll do that for you. What? Didn't you say? That we seem to have a connection. You. Ma Ryong-in looked at me with an impassioned expression. Then he shook his head and said, It won't do. You'll end up dead. I'm going to die in a year anyway. Aren't we researching an antidote now? That's only if it gets developed. Do you think I'm a fool? If there was an antidote that could be developed, it would have been done already. I raised my hand to stop Ma Ryong-in as he was about to say something. Don't try to dissuade me before I change my mind. This is the first time in my life I'm sincerely stepping up for someone. You. Thanks to you, I've experienced being an unexpected hero. I've earned money. I've met a beautiful woman. I've made a friend. Isn't it best to leave when the applause is loudest? But I have one request. What is it? I'll kill Ma Chiol-gun on the last day of the Golden Grand Banquet. It's the last festival of my life, shouldn't I enjoy it to that extent? Friend. Ma Ryong-in's eyes were filled with tears as he grasped my hand. Beneath those tears, he must be laughing with joy. He must be feeling elated at having manipulated a human being at will. But you will never know what I'm thinking right now. Your tears will become real tears. After that day, I often went to the mansion with Ju Dukai. Of course, I was still blindfolded. Ma Ryong-in made excuses about it being an absolute rule of the organization that even he couldn't change. Instead, Ma Ryong-in's treatment of me changed. Fearing that I might change my mind, he was careful with every word he said. He put up with my grumbling and tried to emphasize us with kind words as much as possible. Of course, as someone skilled in social tactics, he used the most powerful and sure method to keep my heart. After holding back, he finally let me meet Im Yunjong today. Did you hear about me? I heard you made a foolish decision. She was calm. While it's true that she had shown special interest in me, it wasn't enough to want to save my life. I thought I'd found a good drinking companion. What a shame. Is there almost no chance of me surviving? None. At her firm answer, I sighed. That's unfortunate. Her lips moved slightly then stopped. She was about to say something but didn't. It seems she felt it was a bit of a waste to just kill me. Let me ask something I'm curious about before I die. What exactly does your organization do? I can't tell you. I'm about to die soon, can't you show that much generosity? This is a crucial moment. Please, just casually drop one word. But she wasn't easy. You're about to die soon, so there's no need to show generosity. You're cold. The martial world is not just cold, it's ruthless. You have no eye for people, your ears are blocked, and even your heart is weak. You deserve to die. How can you say such harsh things? I looked at her as if dumbfounded, then sighed. What can I do? That's just how I'm made. Now the Golden Grand Banquet was just 3 days away.
I had said I would kill Ma Cheol-gun on the last day, so I had 13 days left. Within that time, I needed to find out who was behind these people. Now that I had become the blade to kill Ma Cheol-gun, I was in an advantageous position in many ways. All right. Then answer this. What is it? What's in the room across from this one? I felt some powerful energy. At that time, that energy had been emitted quite blatantly. There's a very scary person there. A scary person? Was that tremendous energy really emitted by a person? Honestly, I was dubious. It was too powerful to be a person's energy, but too vivid to be the energy of something else. So I had concluded that, like her laboratory here, it was some complex combination of things I couldn't imagine emitting such energy. But that energy was entirely emitted by a person? Its energy similar to or slightly less than mine during my time as the Alliance leader. That means it's tremendous energy. Of course, just because the energy felt is strong doesn't mean that person is that strong. But martial artists tend to display skills very close to the energy they emit. Who on earth could it be? I had encountered an unexpected variable named Im Yun-jong when I entered this door. And now there was another variable beyond the opposite door. Anyway, for now, I need to continue finding out about the background organization according to my plan. Do you have someone you like? Im Yun-jong looked at me at my sudden question. Why do you ask? Didn't young Master Ma tell you? Tell me what? So he was jealous after all. To her puzzled look, I said. That I? It was right then. There was a sound outside the door. It's me. It was number 2's voice. I'm coming in for a moment. Soon the door opened and number 2 entered. He wasn't alone. I was surprised to see the person who came with him. But I couldn't show my surprise. Number 2 said to Im Yun-jong. A new person has come down from the organization, so I brought them to greet you. The woman who came with him bowed politely to her and said. I'm number 7.